Hey y'all, welcome to Girl Meets Screen. My name's Norma, your host of whatever, and today we're talking The Ultimatum, Season 3, Episodes 9 and 10, which are the finale and the reunion. This reunion, we gotta talk about it. Let's get Episode 9 out of the way. So Episode 9 is just the couples and the choices they make. So first up, we get JR going to meet Sandy. And I'm gonna say this now and forever. JR was going over there to try to leave with Sandy. None of the other trial marriages met up before meeting their partners. JR thought he was gonna get Sandy. And when that girl said, and of course we're not leaving together, he was like, of course we're not. Oh. So yeah, just a bunch of Sandy and JR nonsense. And then he walks away weirdly. Did anyone else notice JR's walk, both when he was walking away from Sandy and from Zena? Were his pants too tight? From here, I believe we go to JR and Zena, where he proceeds to say a bunch of nothing. A lot of what he was saying, he had said to Sandy, like, it was just like, what? And then the trying to cry between him and Sandy, trying to make themselves cry so damn hard. It was ridiculous. He talking about, it's just, you know, it's hard. Yeah, and I don't think we should leave together. Y'all, I'm gonna have some very unpopular opinions in this video, especially with this reunion. Unpopular in the set, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm gauging based on the response I've seen to the season up until this point, that like what I'm feeling is gonna be unpopular about some of these people. But let's keep going. Yeah, so he breaks up with Zena. Zena looks like kind of dumbfounded, and because when he starts the speech off, it sounds like he's gonna propose. He's like, you're everything I would want in a wife and a mother. Like, I think you'd be great. I see that for me. Like, with you, it would be amazing. And then he's like, no, not happening. Like, sir, what is this? But anyways, yeah, thankfully, there I know. So then we move into Sandy and Nick. I'm pretty sure they were next. And they're kind of talking through their emotions, what everybody else has been doing. Not a ton to say. At one point, Nick reaches for his pocket and she's like, what are you doing? And you can tell that he notices, and then he's like, oh, okay. And he's essentially kind of like, he's doing his crash out thing, I'm not gonna lie, where he's kind of like, he like checks out, right? Something he didn't like and he's checked out. So from that point on, he's kind of like, whatever, yeah. Like, and she's trying to continue because I think Sandy wanted to leave just as a couple, like leave as they came, not get engaged, but not break up. And I think Nick was kind of like, no, like it was get engaged or break up. So like, we good, we breaking up. Like, so she kept trying to talk to him and you can tell he was just kind of checked out. Honestly, I felt like every couple on here needed to break up except for Caleb and Mariah, but more on that later. Speaking of Caleb and Mariah, they are next. And so Caleb reads this like really cute, beautiful letter, and then he proposes, like, and Mariah's kind of thanking him for who he is and their relationship and having been together and all of that. Like, it's just chef's kiss. Caleb's crying. I can't do it. I was cracking up though because I'm trying to figure out why Mariah took so long to say yes. Like, girl, what happened? I wish at the reunion they had been like, girl, what happened? But I think in her head it was like, well, I want to marry you. So, you know, like, I don't think her head processed like say yes. It was just like, oh my God, it's happening. It happened. And so he's like waiting to put the ring on. But they were so cute. And he just kept crying and crying. And that made me so stinking happy. Because in my opinion, from the moment I heard Caleb talking to Arya about how Mariah is the purest form of love, yada, 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 I knew that man wasn't thinking about nobody else but Mariah. He wasn't going to take Arya any type of way. Like, none of that. And so seeing him cry made me happy because I was pretty sure he was going to propose. But I thought that it was probably just going to be because he didn't want to lose Mariah. And so it was like, I'll do this for her because I want to be with her. And so to see him crying and so emotional and coming from such a genuine and vulnerable place, it was clear that it was like, no, this experience made him reach the point where he was like, oh, I want to marry this person. And so I love that for them. I'm getting ahead of myself. I was about to start talking about the reunion. But yeah, it made me very happy to see how emotional he was because it made it clear that this decision was made like for him, by him, you know? And so I love that for them. And especially for Mariah, because I don't care. People are calling her boring and this and that. And I'm like, what makes her boring? Like, she's doing what all of us do. Like, the majority of people are like out at the club or like doing, like, what did we want her doing? Like, everybody's like, she reading a book and then she having dinner. She reading a book and having dinner and the experience by herself. What else was she supposed to be doing? Y'all wanted her what? At a club at night and mimosas at brunch every day? Last but not least, Arya and Scotty. And this episode ends with Arya letting us all the way down. Okay, a few things. Scotty is like crying most of the proposal, talking about how he's so sorry he didn't give her everything she needed in their relationship, but he hopes that the trial marriage showed her that he does want to give it to her and that he can give it to her. And I'm sorry. I don't know how long the trial marriage was. I want to say 2 weeks. Maybe it was 3. I don't know. However long it was, it's no more than 3 weeks. That is not long enough for you to have changed behavior that'll stay changed, and for me to feel confident that this new behavior you're exhibiting is gonna stay. It's just not. And so that was one thing I noticed, was he kept apologizing for essentially how awful he was as a partner, and then being like, but I showed you in these 3 weeks that I'm going to be the opposite of that now. And it's like, change doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't work like that. And then the other thing was, throughout the season and hearing them speak during the proposal, it's just two people who do not belong together. Now, Scotty needs help. 1000%. They all do. We all do. But we'll talk. I'll talk about Scotty in a second. But they both are talking about all the things that they've sacrificed or compromised, or the things they do that they don't want to do, but they do it because I do it because I love you. I didn't want to do that. Or, you know, I'm listening to you and I'm doing it even if I don't want to. And it's like, if you are with someone and you feel that you have to do all these things you don't want to do, or be all these things you are not, that's not the person for you. Square hole, round peg. Square hole, round peg. It does not work. Like, y'all gotta let each other go. Who wants to be in a relationship where the majority of their relationship is bending to what the person wants, or bending to, like, it just does not work, y'all. Needless to say, though, he proposes and she says yes, but you can see the internal, like, panic from her saying yes, and then she tries to be happy. And so that's where this episode ends. So we're gonna jump into the reunion, and I guess we're gonna go like piece by piece of what happens in the reunion and talk about it, and hopefully I'll be able to talk like person by person as well as these things occur. The reunion begins with everyone like getting out of their cars to go inside in their fits and looking all good. And Arya is like, I have receipts and I'm ready to show them. And I'm going to try to hold my tongue about what I think about each person until I can talk about that person. But yeah, so everybody's inside. We get into it. We start off with Caleb and Mariah. Are you guys still engaged? Yes. What have you guys been up to? They talk about what they went up to. And then next, like, we actually have some footage here of that. And it was so adorable. It was all this footage of places they were going and things they were doing, and Merry Christmas, and they're outside and she's got her scarf. It was just so fucking cute. It made me wish I could go backwards to like before I had the girls, and for Cam and I to like live a life like that. But also it kind of made me happy to think, because I was like, okay, we didn't get to do it before, but because we had the girls so young, we'll get to do it after, you know, or like as they turn into teenagers and they can be home by themselves for a bit, you know, we'll get to live our lives. And that's okay. That's good enough for me. But it was such a beautiful montage. It was so, so cute. And so, yeah, as they're kind of asking Caleb what he got from the experience, and what I liked was he acknowledged that he like wasn't showing up as his best, which I spoke about in the last video about how he was showing up for Mariah, where it was like, she just needs a little reassurance. Like, she just needs you to hear her and then like reassure her in what she's saying. And I hate that people were like, oh, Mariah's so insecure, like she does not love herself, she needs therapy not to be with Caleb, when I don't think that that was the case. I think it looked that way because, and I said, okay, I saw myself in Mariah, I saw my relationship in Mariah and Caleb's, because that was one of our struggles, where I would be expressing a feeling and he would feel attacked, and you're like, it's not about you though. Like, it's what I'm feeling and I'm telling you what I'm feeling. And so rather than coming from a place of, like Caleb said, listening, understanding, and being like, okay, so what do you need from me, right? Because Mariah was making it clear, why don't you just hug me? Like, when I'm saying these things or when I'm having these feelings, I just want to hug. Like, she couldn't have said it any clearer, and it was still like, why would I want to hug you when you're attacking me? And it's like, you wouldn't feel attacked if you just heard her feelings out and gave her what she needed based on those feelings? Like, it just was so interesting to me, and I could see it. So I think I had a different perspective than a lot of people had. I don't think that she's like terribly insecure. Yes, she does need to work on her issues due to her childhood and her past. It's clear that there are some like abandonment issues and fears there because like her mom left and all of that. And so I think for her, it's like, if we're married, I have that security that he's not gonna go. And it's a complicated thing because I don't think that she thinks he's gonna leave without that security. I think that security would just still help ease the anxiety. It's like she knows he's a good man who loves her, but there's still some anxieties. And so to her, it was like, well, maybe this will help with that. And it can, but it won't fully heal it because you have to heal yourself. But I just think people were being really hard on her for no reason is what I'm getting at. I really liked that Caleb acknowledged what I was seeing, okay? Because I feel like, I'm not gonna hold y'all, I'm not even trying to gas myself up, but like with Love is Blind, all these shows, I feel like I'm always on point. Like I be saying stuff and then later on, people in the couples or like something comes out that's like to what I was saying, you know? Vanessa and Nick are like, oh, so like Arya was your trial partner. Have you guys had any check-ins or communication since? And he's like, no, like not at all, no. And Mariah's shaking her head no. And then Arya's like, oh, what about you viewing my stories and liking my stories? And he's like, I've liked Zena's stories and viewed them too. And she's like, and you blocked me and then you unblocked me. And he's like, I didn't block you. And you guys, I knew when Arya did the whole, I have the receipts thing by the car, and I'm not gonna hold y'all, I refrained from going too hard about Arya because I was like waiting to see. A lot of the times, if like the public opinion differs from mine, I want to wait and see. Like I'm like, maybe there's something I'm missing, I'm not seeing. Because if the majority is feeling away and I'm not, I could be missing something, right? But if you look at my last videos, I did say like when she went to Mariah, I was like, I didn't like it. It felt to like attack Mariah in some sort of defense of Caleb. But looking at what happened at the reunion, I'm now clear that I don't even think it was so much a defense of Caleb as it was like, I'm the better fit for him. You suck. I don't. He says you do all these things that I don't do to him, because that's what she was saying. And to me, it was like a little bit of jealousy because, again, throughout the entire experience, Caleb was never leaving Mariah. Caleb never pursued Arya in any sort of romantic way. And I think that internally that upset her. And her response to that was like to tell Mariah that like, y'all have issues and we don't. And I think maybe that helped her because she wanted to convince herself that he did like her. And we're going to talk about that in a sec, but I need to finish this thought. So yeah, and watching the last set of episodes, I was like, Arya's doing too much with the like, Caleb's so perfect, Caleb's everything I wanted, Caleb, and you know, I want to talk to him, but Mariah doesn't want me to. And I felt like there was no need to say that, if you ask me. You could feel differently. I felt like the only reason you would say that is to like, you're saying it to the camera. So obviously for the public to be like, how could Mariah, like, they built a connection, she should let them be friends. I don't know about y'all. I would not. I absolutely would not. I am Team Mariah on that 1,000%. If someone is telling me that they're having this crazy emotional connection with my partner and I'm in this experience, no, I don't want you to talk to her after that if our relationship is continuing. I didn't like it at all. I didn't get Arya's call out. Also, like, for the smoking gun to be liking her stories and viewing her stories, no, absolutely the fuck not. Like, that was so dumb to me. And then again, what is your goal? What is the end goal here? To ruin their relationship? To end their relationship? Why would you want that? Do you think he's gonna come be with you? Like, it literally, I did not understand what the purpose of Arya doing that was. Other than she got insecure that he kept calling it a friendship and she wanted to prove that it wasn't. And here is where a big unpopular opinion is gonna come to y'all from me. Please don't attack me about it. Like, we are free to differ in this opinion. The Caleb situation. And I feel like all commentary I've seen is like, I don't know why he lying. I don't know why he lying. Like, they had a connection. They had an emotional connection. And they did, but I feel like, it's just my opinion, people are saying that to say that he liked Arya or that there were romantic feelings. Like, people keep saying emotional connection, but the way they're fighting for it is like they're trying to say a romantic emotional connection, because Caleb saying that there is a deep friendship, that's an emotional connection. A deep friendship is an emotional connection. So like, what are we doing here? And so what I don't like is people are trying to like rewrite Caleb's perspective. That is Caleb's perspective. Like, I don't understand how everyone's like, he lying, it's not a friendship. If Caleb saw that as only a friendship, then he saw it as only a friendship, you guys. Not to mention, at least what we saw, none of that was, to me, really super like elevated, like feeling and like, oh, how could he deny what we're watching? Like, a lot of what Caleb did, I would do for a friend. If I had a friend like Arya being treated like she was with Scotty, dealing with everything she was dealing because of how Scotty was acting with Zena in this experience, all of that, yada, yada. Like, I would bring wine over. I would be like, yeah, I'm bringing face masks and we're going to do face. Like, a lot of what he did would be friendship. You know what I'm saying? Like, for people to be like, I want to do that for a friend, I would. Like, I don't. My thing is, at the end of the day, we cannot say that Caleb is lying. We can't say Caleb has to be honest, because if to Caleb, that's what it was, then that's what it was. Mariah, you, me, Arya, nobody should be able to be like, just tell the truth, you're being fake. Like, if to Caleb that was a friendship, then to Caleb it was a friendship. And then, like, I felt like on the reunion when he was like, you guys are right, I'm sorry, I feel like he was just like, it's the only thing that's gonna get these people to shut up. So you're right. There was an emotional connection, and I should have admitted that. And it's like, he did though. Like, he said it was a deep friendship. That's an emotional connection. Like, it's just different words that you guys are using for the same thing. Speaking of, I wish Mariah had presented a united front. I wish she would have saw what Arya was doing for what it was and just been like, you know what? I have to believe Caleb on this. I don't think that liking a story or viewing a story is enough to say that he was trying to be deceitful or unfaithful to me, because it's not. Like he said, he was liking Zena's stories too. Like, what are we doing here? And then also Arya saying like, you're both fake, you were calling him every night, you guys were on their phone for 2 hours. I'm not shocked, one. Two, I don't think Caleb had an issue with that. I feel like Arya would have been like, Caleb had an issue. No, she was like, you're both fake. You were talking to each other on the phone. Yes, they were, because we all know Caleb made it clear from day one he was not leaving Mariah. It was clear from day one that Caleb was just making the best out of an experience he didn't even want to be in, and he came for her, hoping that she would discover something. And he ended up discovering things, which is great. But again, it's like, don't do that. Like, that's not... I didn't like it. I didn't like what Arya did at all, and I wish that Mariah would have just presented a united front with her man, because it was clear Arya was just trying to tear them down. And the minute that Arya was like, and you're both fake, and you were calling him, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, she's right, Mariah should have been like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry you feel that way, we're good. And you know, Nick Lachey is like, if there's one thing that's clear to me, it's that man loves you. And I was like, thank you, because Arya over there looking stupid as hell. You guys, I'm sorry. To me, this was a reflection of Arya and her insecurities. Arya felt so insecure in the fact that Caleb was denying any attraction to her that she had to be like, look at this, see, attraction. Why, girl, let it go. Y'all, if a man is saying they don't like you, what the fuck do we look like being like, yes, he do, he liked me. See what he did, he liked me. Look, he was liking me. No. How embarrassing for us, honestly, for you. It would be like, don't do that. Let it go. Especially because, like, there was no actual, like, oh, Caleb is doing something sketchy. Like, liking stories, viewing stories, y'all, there's times I go to the bathroom and I go to wipe and I put my phone down as I was looking at somebody's story, and then it ends up going through every story that came after that until I pick my phone up again. Could you imagine somebody trying to say that I want them because my phone was scrolling through your story while I was wiping my butt? Like, man, come on now. This one's gone on for too long. I felt very passionate about Caleb, Mariah, and then the whole Arya situation there. Like, okay, we're back. Nick and Vanessa move into Arya and Scotty. You guys got engaged, but it really, like, what what's going on? And then Arya basically says she very immediately realized she made a mistake. She wanted to take a step back. It was too much all at once. They asked her to clarify, and basically the next day, Scotty was like, call your family, are you gonna call your family? Call your family. And she did not want to, and she realized, like, this ain't it. And so she called off the engagement that following day. She asked if they could, like, live together, and so they lived together, and then basically things weren't going well. She said she wanted to do couples therapy. He kind of fought her on it, dragged his feet. She said, if we don't do it, I'm leaving. And so she did. He tries to be like, we did do therapy. And she's like, a year later. So essentially it sounds like she wanted therapy and he was like, whatever. And she was like, if we don't do therapy, it's over. And he was like, oh, okay. And then it was over. And then he tried to be like, okay, I'll go to therapy. And at that point, you know, it's hard to, like, reconcile that, because it's like, why did I have to leave for you to, like, do this thing that would help us to be together? Then he tries to say, like, I don't think it's fair to make those judgments when you don't know the full picture. A lot happened from when we left till now. And she's like, are you just gonna say a lot happened, or are you gonna say what it was? And he's like, I don't feel like it's my place, like, because I guess it was her stuff. And so she says, like, her grandma died, she suffered a miscarriage, and then there was the, like, couples therapy thing. I think it is very telling that those are things that would have broken them up, because if those are things that would have broken them up, 9 times out of 10, it's because you were not supportive of her in those things, and she didn't feel supported. Because I don't see how you were, like, the best support system, and then you guys end after that. Like, it wouldn't make sense, especially because those are things that she has expressed in the show that she's wanted from you. So I would find it hard to believe that he was doing these things, and then she left him anyways. Like, I feel like it would be the opposite. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Clearly a mess. Then they proceed to do a weird ass workout montage. Like, they're like, everybody was working out. And it's just footage of people working out, people eating healthy, like, funny little moment. It was weird. It was weird. I'm like, why is this in here? I'm looking at my friend like, why is this in here? We move on to JR and Zena. And basically Zena is here to be like, he was, like, keeping me on a string, like, tossing me back and forth with where we're gonna be together, where we not. JR is like, I made it clear we weren't. After the show, I made it clear we weren't. I said I wanted to focus on me, yada, yada, yada. And what happened here is the classic, like, okay, when a girl becomes friends with benefits with a guy and he makes it clear, like, I don't want a relationship, and she's like, okay, cool, no problem, all right, friends with benefits. And then she keeps developing feelings for him, and it ends with her being like, he's such a jerk, he led me on. And you're like, no, he didn't, because he said he didn't want a relationship, and you decided to keep going. And, like, it's on nobody but you, babes. I'm sorry. Is that anti-feminist? I don't know. But to me, that's how I feel. It's like, if a guy made it clear to you, they don't want to be with you. They don't want to, like, whatever they do after that, unless the words have said otherwise, they still don't want to be with you. Guys don't look at that shit like that. We do. So, essentially, I feel like that's what happened here, where he kept saying, like, I need to work on myself. Zena was asking for a straight up, like, we are done. He didn't want to give that. He gave it not in the words she wanted. And I think what she would have been receptive to was him cutting off communication and being like, I don't want to be with you. I don't think it's good for me to keep talking to you because it's going to give you false hope. I just think we need to go our separate ways. And he didn't do that. And so to her, it was like, there's still a chance. And also, not to mention, like, their relationship was essentially her going above and beyond and him giving her nothing. Like, I laughed because I saw this TikTok and the accuracy of it is insane. They were basically like, okay, I now believe they were in a relationship and that JR just fully sucked. Because obviously we were all under the impression that these two people were not together. But then it became clear that they were, but he's just an awful human. And she's blind as hell. Because again, everyone being like, yes, Zena, boss ass, yeah, like, Zena's that girl. And I'm like, Zena's kind of blind. And she being a little bit silly right now. Because even in the reunion, like, you could tell the feelings are still there. You could tell she still want to be with him. And it's like, let that man go. Like, the man does not love you, does not want you. She goes, for your birthday, you was at the Ritz-Carlton getting a massage, and you ate a steak. Okay, baby. The only thing that's showing us is that you was down bad as hell for somebody that wasn't giving you shit. He's over here talking about, you begged me to spend Christmas with you. Y'all spend Christmas together. You get him a gift. He gets you nothing. Like, oh, we got to open our eyes. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Zena is dope, though. She seems dope. But in this specific situation, I'm an accountability person. I'm like, we gotta be able to look at ourselves and be like, that was dumb as fuck. There's so much in my life that I'm like, I was dumb. I was stupid. I was dumb. I shouldn't have done that shit. And we all gotta be able to do that. And the fact that a year later, Zena's on this reunion, still not being able to do that is crazy. JR ain't shit, clearly. JR's still the same man that he was on the show. Nick asked Sandy about, oh, what was like behind the scenes like with you and JR? And she proceeds to talk about everything Nick put her through before that. And I'm like, that wasn't the question. Like, girl, what are we... It's like she's trying to justify her actions by talking about how terrible Nick was. And it's like, that don't... Anywho, that leads us into the best moment of this freaking reunion is freaking... They start showing footage of JR being a fuckboy, a straight up fuckboy, touching Arya's leg, talking to Arya, oh, I can have you pregnant by the end of this. And yet he's doing all that with Arya and Sandy. There's footage of both. And they're showing Sandy reacting in real time. And you can tell that Sandy is like perplexed that he was actually doing this with another girl. Like that what they was on, the flirting they was on, he was also doing with somebody else. I don't think she thought that that's what was happening. But we end it with him talking to Micah about Zay and Randall and someone Jay, I forget, one of the other guys from the first season, and being like, you know, yeah, like I'll be on their time. Like I'm on, this is a hall pass. This is a free hall pass. Y'all, the way everyone gasped, everyone was gooped, everyone was gagged. And Zena said, can we get a clap? I said, ooh. He said, people thinking I want a hall pass is crazy. Sir, that came out of your mouth. Were you watching the footage? Like, y'all, he's still trying to deny it. People thinking that that's what I was doing. That's crazy. Did you just watch what we watched, JR? I'm confusion. That moves us into Zena being like, I have receipts. She said, I have receipts. You have a phone. There's a chip on my nail. There's a chip on my nail. And she takes Nick's phone. She says, this is how you do it, right? And so Vanessa starts reading it. And it's her texting JR being like, did you hear what Arya said? Yada, yada. And he's like, what? What the hell? And she's like, Scotty was not talking shit about you. He's trying to understand what Arya was talking about. Essentially, Arya was sad because of how everything was going down, realizing JR was here for a hall pass and feeling like maybe everybody else is because Scotty was acting with Zena the way JR was acting with Sandy, right? So you're kind of paralleling. Okay, he says he's here for a hall pass, so maybe my man is too. What the hell? And okay, so clearly the rumor came from Arya, but obviously JR was saying it too. And so she shows these receipts to be like, why would you bring that energy to Scotty knowing it came from Arya? And you started a fight. So she's like, Scotty, he was trying to ruin our experience, which is like, I don't know about that. I think he was just trying to save space and wanted to blame it on somebody else. I do want to say though, and again, this might be another unpopular opinion, I kept my mouth shut about the Nick and racism allegations because I felt like, you know what, Norma, maybe you just don't understand the plight of the people. And yes, out of context, some of the things Nick says, you're like, that feels a little bit microaggression. A little bit like, why are you saying that? When he meets up with Sandy's mom, and he's like, you know, he's a swaggy player type. Swaggy, that's what the word was. I was trying to remember it. He's a swaggy player type, yada yada. People are like, that's racist. That was racism. Swaggy. And to see that footage of JR was so vindicating because all of that was happening in public. That wasn't him closed doors on single dates. That was at the pool party that everybody was at. That was at nighttime bonfires that everyone was at. He was doing this in front of everyone. So we don't see this footage and we're like, Nick is racist. He's only mad because JR's black. That's why he's mad that Sandy chose him. And to see all this footage, I'm like, no, he's mad because he's a fuckboy. And he knows that if she's choosing the fuckboy, she's probably just trying to fuck the boy. Like, anyways, again, might be an unpopular opinion. I feel like the man is vindicated. It clearly had nothing to do with JR being black. I'm sorry. Like, it clearly had to do with JR was trying to fuck. And he was like, you about to fuck my bitch. Like, because none of the other girls were falling for the okie doke with him. And then you got Sandy being like, couples that left were offered to come to the reunion. Chanel and Micah declined. Vanessa and Dave come. Vanessa is here to be like, Nick was terrible to me, yada, yada, yada. Nick tries to defend himself being like, we had good days too. She's like, what's your point of bringing those good days up? And it's like, girl, to prove that it wasn't all bad. Like, what are you doing? So she comes in essentially saying that he was drinking. He admits. She says she's vague and he clarifies. He's like, yeah, I was drinking. Like, I was going through a lot with, like, the Sandy situation of it all. And I did get mean with Vanessa. Like, I was really mean to her, yada, yada, yada. Like, he's saying it was a bad day. He's admitting his fault in it. And Vanessa's still going. And this is really hard because it's the same thing with the Sandy and Nick of it all, where it's like two things can be true at once, where it's like his behavior was not okay, but I also feel like Vanessa is fully trying to put the blame on him and the experience, because it's like, if I met someone and there was like one bad day out of, like, it feels like she's trying to push it all on him so that everybody will stop being like, oh, you left and ruined the experience for everyone, right? Because everyone was like, y'all just bounced, that's fucked up, like, da-da-da-da-da, right? We knew how people felt about them leaving. And so I feel like it was like she threw him under the bus to save herself, and that didn't seem okay or, like, fair to me. If you're asking me, it was clear that he was shitty to her and then acknowledged it after the fact with her, and she decided to leave. And so now she's trying to be like, yeah, he was just bad, when it's like, okay, but if he acknowledged it, it's so fucked up for you to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna come and air this shit out because whatever. And then she did go on TikTok after the reunion when she realized that even still after the reunion, people were like, what the fuck? So basically she went on TikTok to expose him, saying that he disclosed past substance abuse to her, and that to her it was clear that he was still using it on the show, which valid concern, that is not safe. But it just feels strange, and maybe it's because I have a personal, like, history or relationship with addiction, not myself, but like people in my life. And so I view, there's like a protection or a protectiveness I have for people going through things like that, because I don't think it's right to, like, expose his story to save yourself. Like, she was like, oh, I'm still being received badly? Well, guess what? He was on that booger sugar, and so that's why, and y'all need to like me now. And it just felt icky to me. And that might just be my opinion because, like I said, my personal connection to the matter. But it just felt wrong. It felt weird. And it felt like, why? What was the purpose of this? Like, I feel like I don't think she was getting enough hate to, like, for it to mean this. Because, like, Mariah, Micah and Chanel didn't come on. And they're fine, right? Like, people are just going to forget about it. But when you keep bringing it to light, and I don't know, I just feel like she was just one of those people who was like, all right, well, I'm gonna fucking fuck his shit up so that they pay attention to him instead of me. It just felt weird. I didn't like it. That's just my opinion. Editing Norma here. I cannot believe I forgot to mention Vanessa and Dave. And I, at this point, I'm just being a hater if I'm being really real with you, but the nerve of her, not her, but just in general, same thing with Chanel, because neither of them got a ring, which is what I'm getting at. But help me understand. Vanessa brought this man on this show as an ultimatum, right? 2-ish months on this show. You propose or I'm leaving, right? Those are the two options this person has. Propose or I leave. Or if I like the person I get, I will leave with them. But propose or leave is the main two options. Then this man embarrasses her on this reunion, talking about, yeah, we've talked about things we didn't talk before. Kids, where to get married, honeymoon, you know, everything we want to see happening in 5 to 10 years. When I tell you, you went on this show with a 2-month timeline, and now this man got you on a 5 to 10 year timeline. That is absurd, wild, crazy. I can't believe I forgot to talk about that. But please comment down below your thoughts on that, because that had me weak in the knees, honey. And then they tried to be funny with their little fart joke. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So from that, we move on to the last little thing, which is Sandy and Nick and them talking about, like, what happened after the fact and all of that. And so they did break up, but then they, like, got back together, tried to make it work. He talks about Sandy bringing him to rehab, and then how, like, after about a week, she was over it. She was going on trips and yada yada. It's clear that he has the whole crash out mentality about that, of like, she just left me and yada yada. And Sandy tried to say that the tormenting continued, that he kept doing what he was doing on the show to her and yada yada yada. And here's where I'm like, another two things can be true at one situation, where his crash outs are not okay. His behavior isn't healthy. It's not okay to treat her the way he was treating her. But also, some accountability has to be taken, where it's clear to me that Sandy keeps lines of communication with Nick somewhat open, which makes him think that the door is still open. And so he will keep trying. And then she's like, he's tormenting me. He's blowing my phone up. And it's like, because you're not making it clear that this is done and you need to stop. On the show, she still hasn't said she did. I don't think there was a moment where she said, Nick, I want to experience this and I need you to stop contacting me. I'm going to block your number. And then she could have gone to production and been like, please keep him away from our door. Or, hey, can you move us to be farther away from each other? Maybe he could switch apartments with Mariah. Like, there was something you could have done that wasn't telling him you miss him and you still love him. Like, that's where it's like, of course he's still going to have feelings if he thinks there's still feelings there. Same thing after they left and her being like, he just kept, and it's like, because it's clear that you kept line of communications open. You didn't fully cut him off, so he's going to think there's still hope there. He's going to be upset that you're doing other things. Like, it just, you know, and again, it doesn't make his reactionary things okay, but it's like, we can't pretend that it's just some crazy person, you know? But I will acknowledge that clearly with Nick, there are some addiction issues going on that are seriously affecting the way he is treating people. And he does need to seek help. And I'll be honest, it was clear that he wasn't fully healed in the reunion. And he said he is seeing someone, and I hope that he is getting help, right? That like what we saw in the reunion is just kind of the process. Like, he's still in the process. But that's how the reunion ends. And yeah, that was a doozy, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this reunion. I absolutely would love to. Subscribe for more content like this, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.